Nobody wants to see that dreaded $0 royalty figure, and I'm going to show you how you can avoid it. During my time publishing on Amazon KDP, I have made a ton of mistakes, and these are the main 5 things that I've learned that you should absolutely not do. The first thing not to do when publishing is to create a book in a popular niche. You might think that you have an idea for a book, it's a relatively simple book that you can create quite easily, but a lot of other people are going to be thinking the same thing. So when you're publishing a book and there's 10,000 other books that people can search through, it's going to be very, very hard for yours to stand out. This is probably one of my biggest mistakes when I started out publishing sci-fi without it being niched down enough into a certain genre. So this applies across all areas of marketing, really. You need to find a niche. You then want to, if possible, niche down further to an interesting sub-niche, which ideally has less products for sale. Therefore, your product, your book, has more chance of standing out. If we take an example of my February sales figures, you'll see here that one of my books, for example, had literally 0 sales. It did nothing. So this one was a motivational colouring book with motivational prompts that people could colour in with patterns in the background. It wasn't good enough to stand out. And because this one involved swearing, I couldn't use advertising on Amazon ads. So therefore, all of my time that I spent to create this book was pretty much wasted because it's not selling. When we compare this to a different book, you can see there are sales. And whilst one book might not drive a ton of sales, the idea is you create lots of books in these niches and therefore you then get lots of sales. The next really important thing that you need to pay attention to is making sure that you don't neglect your book titles and your book subtitles. If we look here at this alien colouring book, for example, you really need to make sure the book title is doing what it's supposed to for you. It's supposed to sell the book, show people quite simply what the book is, and it needs to not be stuffed with search terms. The subtitle, you always want to make sure that you include keywords here, but don't go too deep into keyword stuffing. These are 2 of the main ways that people are going to find your books. It's the book title, so you need to make sure it is unique, and the subtitle gives you a little bit more opportunity for longer string keywords that people might be searching for. One of my first books I ever published was called Watchers, and I did 0 research of titles. I put it out there and realised Dean Koontz and lots of other people also had books called Watchers, so my book ranked terribly and I had to use ads to help people find my book. So that's an example of, if you don't do your research, if you don't create a title that is interesting and unique, that's what can happen. The third thing that you shouldn't do is not choose the correct categories. I have seen tons and tons of publishers creating books and then sticking them in the most random categories in the hope that they're going to get a #1 bestseller tag. Certain categories are more competitive than others, and if you went to a really random category that no one's creating books in and you got 1 or 2 sales, you might end up being the top ranking new release in that category. But you're basically tricking Amazon into giving you that tag. And whenever you try and trick Amazon, that is never a good thing. Even though it's unlikely, it can lead to account suspensions. And from a consumer perspective, surely you want your book to be in the right categories. Here, for example, my alien colouring book is in UFO and extraterrestrials and supernatural. If I got 20 sales in a day, I might then be the #1 bestseller in either of those categories. And then more people are going to find my book who are actually interested in my book. Whereas if I put it in, horse jockeying for kids or something, if it ranks well, no one's going to care about it. And number 4 is extremely important. This is to make sure that you put the time and effort into your covers. Like I've been guilty of in the past, if you create a poor cover, people are going to be less likely to buy the book. And often how it works is people tie the quality of the cover into how good the interior is. You expect a good, well-produced cover to have a good, well-produced interior. This was my first effort at a dinosaur joke book. I thought maybe this is good enough. It's just using a really basic graphic that I got from Creative Fabrica, a dinosaur font, and that's about it. There's nothing special about this. if you saw it on Amazon. For me, this wouldn't stand out. It looks a little bit amateur. And so I decided, right, I'm not ready to publish. I'm going to have another go again at this cover from scratch. Okay, and this was the final result. So this is so much more engaging for kids. It stands out so much more when you see it scrolling through results for dinosaur joke books. I put the effort in to make sure that there's an interesting back page as well, which I wasn't doing before. I even included some branding of a brand that I created for dinosaur material. We went from a thrown together front cover with nothing on the back to something that actually looks a bit more professional and has a lot more time and care put into it. And if you put time and effort into this, you will see the results. The better your cover is, the better the purchase rate will be on your book when someone clicks on it. And that is exactly what you want. Okay, and then the fifth and final mistake I made was pricing my books incorrectly. There's no way you're going to sell a book if you're twice the price of a bestseller in that category. It's just not going to happen. I've searched for dinosaur joke book, and you can see mine's there. I think it does stand out quite nicely. But if you look at the pricing, the first two are $7.95 and $9.99. Mine's there at $6.99, so I'm actually undercutting the competition. But there are some others here for slightly cheaper. So what you want to make sure that you do is research the niche that you're creating a book in and go through and make sure that you're not overpricing, and also make sure that you're not underpricing as well. Those are the 5 main mistakes that I made personally when I started out on Amazon KDP. I hope this is helpful. If you've got any tips yourself on mistakes that you've made, please drop them in the comment. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.